She was framed by her billionaire CEO for insider trading, lost everything, her job, her savings, her future. 3 months later, she stood outside a charity gala with a thumb drive that would destroy him. This is the Ledger's Reckoning, a story of calculated revenge. I'm Maya. Let's begin.
The coffee was still warm when Sienna Matsuda's world collapsed. "Security will escort you out in 5 minutes," Garrett Vance said, sliding a manila folder across his mahogany desk. Sienna stared at the termination papers, her hands trembling. 8 years at Apex Sterling Capital. 8 years of 80-hour weeks, sacrificed relationships, climbing from junior analyst to senior portfolio manager, managing $2.3 billion in assets. All ending in Conference Room 7, the room everyone knew was reserved for terminations. "Insider trading," she whispered, reading the accusations. "Garrett, this is insane. I've never." "The SEC has evidence. Trades executed from your terminal 3 weeks before the Hartwell merger. You bought call options, liquidated them after the announcement for 340% profit." His eyes finally met hers, cold and calculating. "I tried to protect you, Sienna, but the evidence is overwhelming." Her mind raced back 3 weeks, the Hartwell merger. She'd flagged suspicious trading patterns to Garrett during their weekly review. He'd asked her to delete her analysis from the shared drive. "Let's not start rumors," he'd said. "I'll handle it quietly." And then it hit her. The trades weren't hers, they were his. She was the scapegoat. "You're framing me," she said quietly. Something dangerous flashed in his eyes. "That's a serious accusation, one that could add defamation to your legal troubles." He nodded to the security guard. "Escort her out." The walk through the trading floor felt endless. 200 pairs of eyes watching. Most looked away. Outside, autumn morning felt surreal as Sienna stood on Wall Street with a cardboard box of personal items, a coffee mug, a photo of her grandmother, a paperweight from her first major deal. She pulled out her phone. 17 missed calls from reporters. The story had already leaked. Her email was locked, her badge deactivated. Garrett Vance had stolen everything she'd built. But he'd made one critical mistake. He'd underestimated her. 3 months of hell followed.
Her white-collar defense attorney reviewed the SEC evidence and delivered brutal honesty. "They have you dead to rights on paper. Terminal logs, IP addresses, email correspondence researching Hartwell. Take a plea, maybe 2 years. Your finance career is over regardless." Sienna fired him the next day. The financial press crucified her. Rising star falls in insider trading scandal blazed across Bloomberg. LinkedIn connections vanished. Former colleagues crossed streets to avoid her. An ex-boyfriend texted, "I always knew you were too ambitious." Her savings evaporated on legal fees. Her banking license was revoked. She moved from Chelsea to a studio in Queens that smelled like cigarettes and broken dreams. But Sienna hadn't been idle. Her apartment became a war room, every wall covered with spreadsheets, trading records, timeline reconstructions. She rebuilt the trading logs from memory, cross-referencing with public data. The Hartwell trades had been sophisticated, small lots across multiple accounts, all executed within 3 hours, coordinated, professional. Garrett's bonus that year, $17 million, unusually large even for a CEO. She found the first crack digging through offshore corporate registrations. The largest Hartwell options positions were held by Cayman Islands shell companies with shared administrative addresses, all incorporated the same week 2 years ago. She dug deeper. The shells had made other perfectly timed trades, always profitable, always on deals Apex Sterling had inside knowledge of through their investment banking division. Garrett had been running this scheme for years. He'd used her terminal because she was the perfect target, hard-working, ambitious, lacking family connections to mount a serious defense. She documented everything. It wasn't enough for conviction, circumstantial, gathered through public databases, but it painted a damning picture. Now she needed someone to listen. Her phone buzzed, unknown number. "Ms. Matsuda, my name is Cade Brenner. I was the forensic accountant on your SEC case, past tense. I was fired 3 weeks ago after raising concerns about irregularities." A pause. "I think you were framed, and I can prove it." Cade Brenner looked nothing like a federal investigator. Mid-30s, wrinkled shirt, tired eyes, beard suggesting he'd stopped caring around the time his career ended, but his gaze was sharp when he slid into the booth at Richter's Deli. "I worked your case from the beginning," he said, setting a thumb drive on the table. "The evidence appeared within 48 hours of the SEC opening their inquiry. That's unusual. Most cases take weeks to build." "Someone handed them a package," Sienna said. "Exactly, anonymous whistleblower from inside Apex Sterling, everything perfectly organized. I've worked financial crimes for 8 years. Real insider trading is messy. Your case was too clean." He leaned forward. "The terminal logs showed your credentials, but the network traffic data revealed dual access points, your office and a residential address in Greenwich, Connecticut, registered to a trust owned by Garrett Vance's wife." Sienna's pulse quickened. "When I reported this, my supervisors told me to drop it. When I pushed back, I was reassigned, then fired for performance issues despite 8 years of excellent reviews." Cade pushed the thumb drive toward her. "That's everything I gathered. Network analysis, offshore corporate maps, and something interesting. Vance donated $500,000 to Senator Philip Hardwick last year. Hardwick chairs the Senate Banking Committee and appointed the current SEC commissioner. He also personally called my director the day before I was fired." The pieces clicked. "Vance has protection at the highest levels. That's why he was confident framing me." "Which means official channels are pointless. You need something bigger, something that can't be ignored or buried." "I need to expose him publicly, with undeniable evidence." Cade smiled. "That's what I hoped you'd say, because Apex Sterling's annual charity gala is in 3 weeks." Sienna and Cade worked 16-hour days mapping Operation Ledger in her studio apartment. The plan hinged on the gala: 500 guests including clients, board members, investors, politicians, and press. Garrett always gave the keynote speech about ethical finance and corporate responsibility. The irony was perfect. "He connects his laptop to the venue's AV system for his presentation," Sienna explained. "Graphs showing charitable contributions, photos of funded projects. Very inspiring. And you want to hijack it? Replace it with evidence, transaction records, emails, everything proving he framed me and ran insider trading schemes for years." But they needed help. Rhea Chen had been a cybersecurity star before blowing the whistle on her company's illegal data sales. Publicly praised, then quietly blacklisted. Now she freelanced from Brooklyn, too skilled to ignore but too honest to trust. "You want me to hack the Plaza Meridian's AV system," Rhea said at their coffee shop meeting. "Gain access legitimately, pose as TechStage Productions support staff. They're always short-staffed. With your credentials, they'd hire you immediately." "This is insane and illegal," Rhea said then. "I'm in, about time someone paid for lying." Marcus Okonkwo had been Sienna's brilliant junior analyst 7 years ago, until he'd discovered accounting irregularities in Apex Sterling's quarterly reports. Reported to compliance, terminated for cultural fit issues. "Garrett ruined my career before it started," Marcus said when they met, "but I have loans, rent, a life." "What kind of life?" Sienna challenged. "Watching people like Vance get away with crimes because they're too powerful." 2 days later, Marcus called back. He was in. The final piece was unexpected. Delilah Winters, 78, discovered Garrett had skimmed $4.2 million from her late husband's pension fund over a decade. "He thought I was too old to notice," Delilah said. "But I spent 40 years as a forensic accountant. I know theft when I see it. What do you need?" "Access to the gala. You're on the board." "Consider it done." The Plaza Meridian sparkled with champagne and ambition. Garrett Vance worked the room, his smile practiced and predatory. 2 blocks away, Sienna watched from a van, tablets displaying security feeds Rhea had accessed. She wore a baseball cap and hoodie, unrecognizable from her executive days. "System access in 3, 2, 1, Rhea whispered through the earpiece from inside the hotel server room wearing a TechStage uniform. "We're in." Marcus positioned himself near the main projector controls, Delilah Winters keeping him visible as her guest. Cade monitored police scanners from across the street. Garrett approached the podium, began his speech, platitudes about integrity, about Apex Sterling's commitment to ethical finance. The crowd applauded politely. "Vance is live," Cade reported. "Make it count." Sienna's finger hovered over her tablet. This was it, point of no return. Now, she commanded. The ballroom screens flickered. Garrett's prepared presentation vanished, replaced by a cascade of evidence. Offshore account statements bearing his name, emails discussing the Hartwell insider trades, transaction logs showing remote access to Sienna's terminal from his home IP, phone recordings where he bragged about framing her, side-by-side comparisons of trades attributed to Sienna and movements in his personal accounts, timing identical, patterns unmistakable. The ballroom fell silent. Garrett's face drained of color. This is someone's hacking, this isn't. But the final slide was already appearing. Documentation of embezzlement from 17 client accounts, including detailed analysis of funds stolen from Delilah Winters's pension fund. Chaos erupted, board members shouted, investors rushed toward exits. Garrett grabbed for the microphone. Delilah Winters stood, her voice cutting through the noise like a blade. I've sent this evidence to the SEC, the FBI, and every major financial news outlet, she announced, along with documentation of Mr. Vance's embezzlement from 17 client accounts, including my late husband's pension fund, which Mr. Vance has been systematically looting for a decade. Security guards approached Garrett, not to help him. FBI agents entered, badges displayed. They'd been positioned outside, waiting for Cade's signal. Outside, Sienna watched Garrett Vance led away in handcuffs. She felt no joy, only exhaustion, and something else, vindication. Her phone rang, unknown number. Ms. Matsuda, Director Walsh, SEC. We need to speak immediately about clearing your record and discussing charges against Garrett Vance. We owe you an apology. 6 months later, Sienna stood in a new office. Not at Apex Sterling. The firm had collapsed under scandal, assets liquidated. But at Matsuda and Associates, her investigative consulting firm specializing in financial fraud. Her license was restored. Garrett Vance, 18 years federal prison, 34 co-conspirators faced charges, $217 million recovered for defrauded investors. Cade managed their forensic division, Rhea handled cybersecurity, Marcus led data analysis. They'd built something clean from broken careers' wreckage. The trauma hadn't vanished. Sienna sometimes woke at night, feeling those termination papers' phantom weight. But she'd learned something. The system could bend toward justice if you knew where to apply pressure. Her assistant knocked. Ms. Matsuda, someone here to see you, says she's been framed for embezzlement at Titanium Crest Financial. Sienna smiled, not the banking world's practiced smile, but something genuine. Send her in. The work continued. 1 year after Garrett's sentencing, Sienna received a letter, prison stationery. You were always smarter than I gave you credit for, it read in Garrett's sharp handwriting. I underestimated you because you were kind, mistook decency for weakness. That was my fatal error. I hope the view from my office tastes sweet. You earned it. GV. Sienna burned the letter in her office fireplace, watching paper curl and blacken. She'd learned revenge wasn't about hatred, it was about justice. Not destroying an enemy, but building something better from ruins they left behind. She turned to her computer where 17 new case requests waited. People cheated, framed, discarded by those who believed power meant immunity. Garrett Vance had taught her something valuable, though not what he'd intended. The system protected predators until someone made the cost too high. Sienna Matsuda had become that cost. And business was booming.